Let's do it. Good evening, friends. We are back with Wrong Side of the Wall, Season 3, One Last March. And tonight is Session 4, Fanning the Flames. We've passed the halfway point of One Last March, so this is sort of the beginning of Act 2, and hopefully not the end of it either, although we'll have to see how things go. Before we do anything else, of course, as always, we'll start with the recap. And Christian, thank you so much for volunteering. The stage is yours, my friend.
All right. Without further ado. My God in thy ageless wisdom, please guide myself and these lost souls. My world burns and rots before thee. I am thy messenger and clutch thy portal. But I am weak. I am frail. These powers against nature subjugate us. These monsters hold the elements that thou commandst in their grasp. My God, by thy word I would strike them down myself if I knew how. My command is small. Please guide me to our salvation. Thy soldiers, listen to me well. The stones themselves have breathed life to do thy tasks. My God, I am but at the edge of a pinprick. Thy army has been burned, I know of it. Thou hast led me down a path without return, and I fear where it leads, my lord. My commander's command to find and scout these disgusting orcs has been done, and to it I have sent my most reliable disciple. But even he could not spy alone, and has called upon the stone man. And to the stones I commanded he defend my soldiers, and he rose to become that which would save me from certain death. My men so few, and yet many held our entire strength. A horrible and tremendous blade paled in contrast with this fearsome giant. It was not the blade that could not be stopped, but the sharpened warrior that clove nearly each orc in twain. My God, I could not do anything but let the man grasp the remaining orc by the neck and wring the secrets from what remained of it. Is it possible, my lord, to guide these hopeless men? For what we saw inside the caverns deep below, I know not the words to describe it. Thy own forces being summoned. The striking of the sky, these powers against nature, were strung by a dark speech and launched towards something else, some creature that stood like man. My God, it was no man, but a beast, summoned from the hells you condemn. This beast I watched walk through another, with a force stronger than my strongest. My God, is there any hope left for us? Will you guide me? Will you guide those I protect? What hope do we have against this most fearsome of creatures you have tested us with, if we could not even defeat those which summon the skies down? God save us.
Nice.
Excellent.
Yeah. That was great, Christian. Really cool format.
Very clever.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand a lot of it because you were speaking in King James.
Try again in the Queen's English.
Yeah, exactly. Try again in English.
Can you re-talk that in like new modern day version?
Yeah, living translation.
Yeah, I'll give you the recap. So basically, last time.
Give us the message version.
Really,
so basically, dudes, some stuff happened. Our guys are cool. This guy's really scary.
Yeah, orcs be tripping. We cut some guys, and then like
Rick did something again.
This dude, holy cow! This dude take a lightning bolt though.
And like, whoa, bro.
A bird can only carry a letter so heavy, so you gotta cool it, dude.
We could just get the door-to-door pamphlet version.
Awesome.
Yes, excellent. Thank you so much, Christian. That was really good and very true to the medium that you were trying to emulate as well.
Thank you.
So
that's what I was hoping for.
Yeah, had a nice like Book of Proverbs, Book of Psalms kind of vibe to it. So I like that. Yeah, very cool. Sorry, I'm being very not subtle about the fact that I don't know what duelist parry is, and I'm looking it up quickly.
Basically, when I hack and slash, I take a +1 armor forward.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, perfect.
So
that's
when
the
I
+1 armor forward
attack,
thing. Gotcha.
yeah, when I attack something, I get bulkier.
Explain you. Excellent. Okay, perfect. You get bulkier. Yeah. Okay.
Blue Eyes White Dragon.
Excellent. All right.
I grow green hair.
Huh. Screw the rules. I have green hair.
You're a rock.
All right. Awesome. So with that, we come now back to the current scene. And of course, last time we left off, the 5 of you had made your way into a large cavern, and we're standing on sort of a ridge on one side. And below you, the cavern sort of naturally sort of bowled out into sort of into a bottom. And there were piles and piles of orc corpses, all brutalized by one single entity in the middle. The entity is in a all black garb of material and make that none of you can possibly recognize, except maybe Rick. And he's got a large glass/metallic helmet covering his features. He allowed one of the big orcs to take a free swing at him, and in the process, it cracked part of the helmet off. And you were able to see a portion of his hair, and got a sense of how old he might be. As I described, his hair is sort of a salt and pepper sort of thing, like it's starting to go gray. So, early 50s, late 40s kind of vibe there. Although, obviously, everyone grays at slightly different ages. And you also caught a little, like, one eye and a bit of his face. Enough to identify, if it wasn't enough to see his powers in action, enough for Rick to identify, yeah, this is Reaper. Uh-oh. For the rest of you, of course, it's just sort of this, you're down here on this scale and he's on a different scale entirely. But you've watched all of these orcs fall before you. You watched this entity absorb a lightning blast from a mage. For those of you who know something of magic, you would know that a spell like that, like, you felt the atmosphere around you being ionized, right? Like this wasn't a card trick at a parlor. This was real stuff, and he just took it, and then ran up to the shaman and snapped her neck. It was a female orc. I think I mentioned that. And as the session ended, I mentioned that he sort of flicked his head towards the hill, or the little sort of ledge that the 5 of you were standing on. And he murmured to himself that he'd heard something. So, as let me shut him out. As he flicks his head in your direction, remember that the cavern is completely pitch dark. You're making out outlines of things. The only reason you were able to sort of follow the battle with the orcs is because everyone was moving. Right, so you're able to catch the motions of the blows and the motions of the attacks. And of course, when the shaman charged up her lightning, it lit up the cavern for that brief moment. You were able to kind of get a full picture of what had happened. But otherwise, it's very dark. And so for most of you, it's pretty hard. Rick has a rock vision. It's pretty hard for most of you to make out more than just outlines. So, some of you might be more accustomed to being this far underground, but I know some of you definitely aren't. And of course, none of you dare light a torch or worry about light at this exact moment. So he's sort of scanned his eye across the ledge you're on, and you get the sense that he's not seen anyone or seen anything, but just heard something. And as he continues to sort of scan around the cave, placating his own concern, you actually watch as the break in the helmet that sort of uncovered one eye begins to patch itself up. the glass and metal begin to recollect itself. And you actually, it almost looks like a horde of spiders marching across the glass as a black material basically makes itself and repairs the damage put into his helmet. So, why you do this? Once the helmet's motion is done, the part that's been repaired is completely indistinguishable from the rest of it, and it blends perfectly. The figure scans for a moment longer and bumps one of his hands on the side of the helmet. Fuck. Thermal vision's still going to be down for another 2 minutes. Whatever. I killed the mage. I'm out of here. And without another moment's notice, the entity leaps supernaturally from the center of the cavern onto one of the walls. He clings to the wall like no person should be able to. And in another moment, he starts skittering up the side of the cavern with supernatural speed. And he disappears up into the top of the cavern, and those of you with some sense of being able to follow him watch until he vanishes into a higher up crevice. You can still hear him. You can hear stones being tossed around as he's obviously crawling through a narrow tunnel or passageway, but he's definitely out of sight at this point. And after a few more minutes, you can't even hear him anymore. And the 5 of you are left in the cavern with a lot of bodies.
And scene.
I like to think that moment of stunned silence is in character as well.
Mm-hmm.
As we just look at the carnage, we watch this fellow, basically repair what little damage a death blow had dealt to him, and then skitter out of the cavern, clinging to the walls as though they were magnetic, and he is gone, and we're all like,
I believe that was a witch.
If anyone were to look over at Godwin, they'd see him clutching his pendant, eyes closed, on his knees praying.
Right.
Many's hands are working as though he were imagining crushing something inside of them, but his face is pale. Well. That wasn't magic. That was something more.
That was no witch.
You know about this person, Rockman?
Yes. I didn't expect to see another here.
Another? Something like you?
Yes and no. It's similar, but from a different place.
You speak in riddles, Rick. Make yourself clear.
I had friends. We got stuck in a world. We fought that person and a few others. And then I came here.
Sparse in detail, but sufficient. I take it you did not win.
I don't know.
I don't
But
know.
the fact that he's here, if he finds us, if he knows I'm traveling with you, You were all dead.
Death is an unfortunate constant in this life.
The question that presents itself to me is why did he care to kill these orcs? What was he after?
I don't know, but the less time we spend here, the more likely you'll live.
Well, actually, I wouldn't expect he'll be coming back. If we were to rest, here would be the place, considering. But... And I turn to Godwin. Honestly, I don't know what our next move is. I suppose we have to go back to the camp now, Godwin. But... I mean, our job's done. The orc camp is no longer. We were meant to just scout it, but nothing really much left to scout.
Reporting dead bodies is still intel, I suppose.
True. My main concern is what we find back at the camp. It's a conversation we've sort of put on the back burner, but I should suspect...
If we find nothing but ashes, we shall have to seek out another detachment of the army.
Godwin finally stands up and releases the amulet. Anything is intel, right? At this point, sure, we could wander our way back to a burnt camp. But I suspect there is a new path. In fact, I know it, as God has told me.
And what has your God said?
My good many. God has told me that there is a new enemy. Actually, Rick said it too.
So both your God and Rick are good at stating the obvious. But what of it?
Well, we were hunting witches. Rick, what did you say that thing was called?
He's definitely not an enemy. He is, but more so, he will be the Reaper. In fact, that's what he calls himself.
To slay death. That would be a pretty tremendous thing to do.
To kill death itself.
I'm not particularly interested in taking that fight, actually.
There were others just like me.
Did they fall?
We couldn't... I don't know. But all of you stand no chance.
As this conversation continues, Rian, I would like you to roll whatever your move is called unless you pickpocket things. Is that Tricks of the Trade?
I believe it's Tricks of the Trade. It
We'll
is.
get the fuck out. And Lionel, I would like you to roll Hunt and Track, please.
Can I add my bonus for
Elvis?
Foxy?
for Yildiz? Yeah.
Whoa, you just had a person come out of a wall. I thought that was my thing.
It's dinner time in my prison.
Ooh.
Uh-huh. Each prisoner. And Godwin, actually, I would also like you to roll Spout Lore, please.
Absolutely.
But only if you spout it in King James Version.
Oh dear.
Ah,
Double ones.
hey, I get
Okay.
experience.
You get
Hey, you
experience.
level up!
I was gonna say,
No.
did you just level up?
No, I'm at 9 XP.
No, I thought you were at
He's
9
not.
XP last week.
No, I was
Nah,
at 8.
Chris is. No.
Damn.
Yes, I need
He's
to
getting
find
close though.
some low consequence failure.
Godwin, you felt like you had something important to say. Like there was something about this area that you were struggling to remember and you can't. I would like you to please mark confused, as in the debility confused.
Mhm.
Thank you. Meanwhile, Rian, you don't really find anything of value as you pilfer the orc's pockets.
Okay.
At least not what you would consider valuable. The only thing that you find on them that's not just like rags and like bits of uneaten food, and they're like their weapons or whatever, which for the most part are inferior to what you're carrying.
Is
Or
orc
at least
food edible for humans, or is it entirely gross?
It's not inedible, but who knows how they've prepped it. I mean, orc
Roasted
food basically
rat.
boils down to chunks of meat wrapped in cloth.
Rian may
So-
take a bite every so often if he finds
All right.
food.
All right, take 5 damage. No, I was kidding.
Ah!
Uh,
Take worms in your gut for a debility, please.
yeah.
Take sepsis.
Yeah. Please take dysentery.
I'd like you to roll on this parasite table.
Yeah.
You immediately get scurvy.
Roasted rat times 3 out of 10. Right. The only other thing you find besides that is a couple of the orcs, and you gathered they were higher ranking in some way because only some of them have this. But some of them have basically like a little stone emblem. Like it's like the size and shape of a coin, but it's just rock. Like it was just obviously just carved out of the cavern wall. And it's got the like symbol of this orc tribe on it.
Is it shiny?
It's rock. So I mean like, and it's obviously been carved from the cavern. So it's like smooth. It's smooth, but I wouldn't say it's shiny per se. It's not like finding sea glass.
That's different enough that I might collect them.
Yeah.
Is there's nothing of value on the witch lady?
Well, again, it depends on what you see as valuable.
Yes.
The shaman had all over her person little scraps of paper and small scrolls written in Orcish. And many of her pockets were filled with little leaves and bits of crushed herbs and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Rat tails. So it doesn't take you much to put two and together and be like, okay, these were like ingredients for spells.
Well, if these are
or
potion
whatever.
ingredients, I'd like to take them so I can refill my own stock at some point too.
Yeah, they might be potion ingredients. You'd have to take some time to parse it.
Yeah, I'll
them.
just scoop them all into my bag, just dry.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Just toss them in there. They're not heavy, so.
Not separated or anything, just all at the bottom of my bag.
In case she had a component pouch because her TM was really hard on tracking that stuff. That's right. She was in a different campaign. So they had an interrupt at the end. They got TPK'd by their final boss, and you guys walked in on it. So.
I don't let them know that I pick anything up, but I do take those smooth stone emblem things.
Okay. And you find maybe 4 or 5 total. Let's say 5. You find about 5 total amongst all the bodies, and there's dozens and dozens of bodies. So, let's see if you find any more spoons.
None that are clean.
Yeah, none of them are clean. Definitely not. Most of them are covered in blood at this point, because this cavern is a mess. I should add that. Like, this place reeks of death. There are dozens and dozens of corpses. Okay, and then to Lionel's role. Lionel, just sort of you and Ylvis naturally kind of looking around the cavern. You weren't actively like nose to the ground Sherlock Holmes style or anything. But just as you were wont to do, and as Ylvis is wont to do, you were keeping aware of your surroundings as best as possible. And just sort of doing like a quick walk around of the area, you feel like you might have spotted what looks like signs of a very quick departure. there aren't tracks per se, but Ylvis has definitely picked up a scent, and you see evidence that a small group, not more than 5 maybe, have recently been in this cavern and made a hasty exit.
From the way we came, or presumably like a
different direction.
Interesting.
And a different tunnel down in this cavern system. However, the origin was here, and so you draw the conclusion that these were other orcs. Other orcs maybe that fled when Reaper appeared in the cavern itself. You're pretty confident that you could track wherever these orcs ended up, but you have to get the party moving pretty quick.
Godvin.
Yes.
Seems we're not the only people in this cave who yet live.
Of whom
I
do you
point
speak?
to a side tunnel. A group of 5, no more than that, certainly, managed to beat a hasty retreat down here. We can track them, but not for too long. Cave doesn't keep signs for a long time. So
Then let's make haste. What say you, gentlemen?
I have nothing better to do today.
Rain's pilfering through pockets, and he just says, "What was that, my lord?"
all right, Lionel
Echoing through the cavern.
Lionel will start down the cave.
Reaper hears you and goes back and kills you. I'm just kidding.
Assuming
That's what I've been afraid of.
It's like he paused at the top. Thermal vision's not. What's all that noise?
Somebody's shouting.
Oh, time to go do some murdering.
there are other people here.
Yeah.
Goes who's down in Whoville.
Yeah. There would be an interesting irony to like Richard's character in this campaign attracting his evil character.
We have to 2 Spider-Mans meme at them.
That's right. He's still waiting for that. He can't bucket list until he 2 Spider-Man memes him. All right. Well, then I assume unless there's any other protests that not that there hasn't been any protests, but I'm just saying unless there's protests, assumably everyone heads down this tunnel
Quickly and promptly.
Correct.
quickly and promptly. All right. Well,
Languidly.
let me ask you a question then. As you start down this tunnel with Lionel sort of leading the way as he's tracking this group of orcs, do any of you dare to light a light?
I don't. I think I'm used to the dark areas and things because being a rogue is my nature. So I would not do so.
Okay.
While they were all kind of doing their own thing, I was hoping to kind of linger back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of see if I can get like a sense of what this place is.
Linger in the cavern, you mean? Like before we head down the tunnel?
Yeah.
Yeah. What this place is. Oh, interesting. Ah, yes. Rock sense and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Can you roll me a straight wisdom, please?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 9. The cavern hits you with a few sensations. Again, stone doesn't speak to you so much, just make you feel things. You get the lingering sense of something. Like walking into a room after someone's done a lot of heavy cooking, and you can still kind of smell the aromas of it. It's a weird sensation, but your brain kind of goes, oh, I'm sensing like the mage who died, or something like that. The cave is reeling from the strange magics. That's what it feels like to you. Also, the cave is very upset, and the cavern is very upset that there's blood seeping everywhere. It does not like the death it is experiencing.
It'll get over it.
And again, just like the first cave you entered this world in, where you sensed that there was a great disturbance, the cavern was complaining that all the living things, all the creatures near it and in it were perturbed. You're getting that same sense here. The cavern is almost mourning the fact that there used to be a lot of life in it, and now it feels empty. And with all this new death, it's probably going to remain that way. other than that, you get a sensation of how would Rick think of this? Like, have you ever come home from something and someone in your family's mad at you, but you don't know why they're mad at you, but you can sense that they're mad at you?
Mm-hmm.
And they just act weird, and they're like waiting for you to apologize, but you have no idea why they're even mad? Rick gets that sensation from the cave. Like, the cave is somehow upset with him, but Rick has no idea why. But that's as far as it goes.
Interesting. Okay. And then I guess with that, I would be taking up the rear when we do get moving.
Okay, excellent. And obviously Lionel's leading the way, and I've gotten a pretty good sense. If Rick's at the back, then Manny, Godwin, and Rian are somewhere in the center. All right. So
about torches, unless I absolutely need it to keep the trail, I would not light anything.
Right. Okay. Just checking. Tells everyone the death of plan that happened. It wants to give you a nice cleaning, maybe some potted plants. Let's move into this cave and have that be the rest of the campaign. Nice.
Interior decorate for the rest of the, I don't know, Reapers off somewhere, killing armies. We're just furnishing our cave.
Yeah, it's just a Minecraft campaign at this point or whatever. So, let's make a house. Let's just go for it, guys. Whatever. Let's make the best of it.
This is the best campaign you've ever made for Christian right now, too. Minecraft now. You've got him.
Oh no, that'd be a pretty rock solid decision.
Ooh. Reapers wiping out it's end of the world. Let's build a really nice house or something.
It's real sweet man cave.
No.
They'll never know to look where he already killed everything. So
it's true. Well, maybe. Anyways. Okay, so once again, we are doing the Undertake a Perilous Journey move. So if you recall, there are 3 roles to that. There's a scout, a trailblazer, and a something else. Oh, follow me. When you undertake a perilous journey, you can take 2 rolls. You make a separate roll for each. Yeah, so ignore the roll on this. It's just tied to a die roll. Whatever you take, you see if you rolled a 10 plus. Yes, they stack, and you can take 2 rolls. Cool.
Okay, I will be fair and ask. Do you consider a cave wilderness?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay.
This is uncharted territory. So this is abstracting a pretty long trek, as you will see. This is almost half a day's worth of travel, as we will find out. So scout, trailblazer, and what's the other one? Quartermaster. Right. So which 2 roles will you be taking on then, Lionel?
So it was quartermaster, scout, and what was the third one?
Quartermaster.
Trailblazer. Yeah.
Trailblazer, scout, and quartermaster. Yeah.
I guess
scout is responsible for making sure that there's no enemies around. Trailblazer is the one actually carving the path, as it were, and quartermaster's making sure that people are fed and supplies are good or whatever.
I guess it makes sense for me to do the 2 that aren't quartermaster.
Okay, very good. And of course, when you undertake a perilous journey, you succeed at whatever you take as if you rolled a 10 plus. Excellent. So I just need somebody to be quartermaster, please.
Me, I'll be quartermaster. You can trust Rian with being the quartermaster, right?
Great. You can roll for finding rocks. Oh,
no, I'm gonna let Godwin make that decision.
You know what? If you want the responsibility of being the quartermaster for our group, I believe wholeheartedly that you are responsible and will treat the rest of your team with respect and dignity.
I will do my duty to its fullest, and I will not let you down.
Much appreciated, Rian.
All right.
No, I have to roll to avoid stealing something as well, I will say.
All right. If I remember for this, I think
maybe just boil that into the quality of his roll. If he gets a 10 plus, he succeeds at not stealing everything, and then work your way down from there.
I just need
That's
to...
right. No matter what, we were going to use the same amount of rations. It's just whether or not Rian steals extra for himself.
Yeah, six or below, all his pockets are bulging, and he won't admit why.
Oh, you know it'd be hilarious if he fails. He gives all the rations to Rick, expecting Rick to eat them.
There you go,
There
Rick.
is not an entire honey ham in my trousers. I believe you are mistaken.
Oh, you're just happy to see me?
Yeah.
No, these are my glutes.
Nice. Sorry, I'm just trying
I've
to
never
remind
skipped
myself
leg
what it is.
day.
I need to have you roll for that.
Yeah, what do I roll?
Moves. Okay, page 55. Sorry, working on it.
Yeah.
Working on it.
Don't talk
Master!
about this, Dumpy.
Make camp. Take watch. Here we are. Okay, so quartermaster, and you need to roll wisdom. So it's just straight wisdom, Richard.
Nice.
So.
Well, that's a 4.
Ooh. All right. Yeah, more like wisdom in this case. So on the plus side, you get to mark XP.
Are you leveled up?
Yeah. Kind of leveled up again. Anyways.
Man.
Anyways, on the downside, you take all of the rations that were meant for other people for yourself. You absolutely steal something. Tell me something that you take that would definitely piss off either Godwin, Manny, or Lionel.
Gosh. I don't know exactly what compels Rian to do so. But he just decides that all of the salt in all of our rations just also meet the bottom of his bag. And you know what? Maybe not just the salt. Maybe anything else that we could have seasoned food with at all. While we were out there.
Right.
Also ends up in my ingredients.
Okay, so everything preservative-wise, basically.
Anything preservative-wise, and anything that could make something possibly taste good.
Right. Okay. So.
Yeah, I walk around and go...
Like a rocko when you move. All right. Well, no one else has discovered this yet because you haven't stopped to eat. But when they do, you'll see what happens. So, in the meantime, let's talk about a little bit about your journey. Your trek through the caves is silent and eerie. Not the least of which because I'm sure some of you at least are keeping an eye out for this stranger. Not totally convinced that he's just skedaddled out of the cavern. Every time somebody kicks a pebble, every time a drop of water falls from the ceiling, every time there's like an echoey sound, you're convinced that something is after you. But for the most part, no. And again, for those of you, so I should say Rick and maybe Lionel, for those of you who would know that there should be, some kind of denizens of this cave, bat-style creatures and that kind of thing. There's just nothing. It's like walking through the woods and not hearing a single bird chirp. There's things have obviously just scattered out of the way, and that's not making the journey any less eerie. There are definitely parts of the journey where you're literally just hearing your own heart speeding and the breath of your engagement. Eventually, it seems like several hours have passed, and probably, most likely, they have. You finally emerge from this tunnel to a cave mouth, and interestingly enough, you realize as you exit out that this cave mouth is actually basically at ground level. Looking back, you can see that you've actually sort of exited basically the mountain range that you've spent the last few days in, even while you were still with the Witch Hunter Battalion there you were moving through this cave mouth. You don't remember the cavern or tunnel steeply declining this much, but it must have been very subtle. Either that, or you were walking for much longer than any of you realized, and you were just lost in thought. But here you are. The sun is still out, although what was early day has now become sunset, and you can just see sort of the cracks of the sun peering out from behind mountains in the distance and trees in the distance. And you find yourself sort of on a flat but still rocky plateau, on the outskirts, obviously, of this grand mountain range. So, does Ricklow footsteps make sound like free stuff? And GM, does this path of ours look natural or man-made? And GM again, is this where I threw that crocodile? The path looked man-made or orc-made, I suppose, or elf-made or magical-made. If I recall from last week, I mentioned that the fortress looked way too good for the orcs to have built it. They must have grabbed it from someone else, and some aspects of the cavern definitely looked carved. At some point, the sort of care and caress that those carvers put into it went away, and the tunnel then looked much more natural. So the last third of your journey through the tunnel, it definitely started to look a lot more man-made. There was a lot more like going through thin cracks and walking around obstructions and all of that. But for most of it, it was pretty nice and smooth. So, and no, there's no crocodile. Sorry, this was not where you threw the crocodile. So,
Damn.
Would have been a wild coincidence.
Unbeknownst to you, what actually happened was, as Rick threw the crocodile down the side of the mountain, a giant eagle appeared and grabbed the crocodile, flew it into the air, and it was eaten by a wyvern. So,
which was then shot by a space shuttle phaser blast, right?
That's right.
I was assuming eventually all of this got dropped in Mount Doom.
Yeah.
The eagle was eaten by a wyvern, or the crocodile was eaten by a wyvern?
Yes.
Yes.
And then the wyvern was shot down and cooked, and it was a crocoran dinner.
Yeah.
It's like a turducken.
Nice.
It's a crocodile inside of an eagle inside of a wyvern.
Wow. Delicacy. Very delicacy.
Mm-hmm.
So, except the one, Lionel's wearing Yellowstone. I have some salt, but it's got ants? What?
I can offer you some salt, however, it has ants.
And so you come to this rocky plateau, and Lionel, again, now that you've kind of gotten back into the open air, you, first of all, feel much more comfortable. And second of all, you feel like now you can actually see tracks, and you can see where blades of grass and stuff have been carved out. The orcs must have been pulling something, like a small cart or whatever, because there are little, like, drag marks. Either that or they were dragging a body or something. But there's little drag marks along the ground behind the footprints. But the orcs weren't working very hard at covering their tracks, because why would they? So you're pretty confident now that you can find their direction. In fact, if the group wanted to stop here and rest for 30 minutes or whatever, you're pretty sure you could still pick up the trail, unless they were moving very fast. So, I'll leave it to you how to convey that information.
Right. Well, Godwin, now that we've made it out of the cave, their path becomes a bit more clear. Seems like they were dragging something, perhaps a cart, some kind of blanket with heavy objects on it. They're probably not too far ahead of us, and I'm quite certain that Lionel looks up at the sky to make sure that it's probably not going to rain. And provided he sees clear skies, he says, should you think now is a good time for the party to perhaps rest for a short spell, certainly not make camp, but just to sit, now might not be the worst time.
I trust you, Lionel, to know these situations. It is your domain. And so we shall rest for a very short while and then pick back up on the track.
And the added bonus being that, seeing as it's nearing dusk, should they be preparing to set up camp, hopefully we should be able to spot them just by a fire that they've lit, with any luck. With any luck.
With any luck.
With any luck. You just know what to say to make my mood better, friend.
Well, I get the feeling we'll be having, for the foreseeable future, a shortage of good moods, so may as well get it all in right now.
I have ample on me. I'm willing to share. Everyone rest.
All right. Well, the rest comes for those of you who need rest. Not a moment too soon. However, merriment gives way to maybe a little bit of upset when it's discovered what Rian has done.
Is it discovered what Rian has done, or do we just think something happened? Like,
Oh, actually,
Rian,
you know
why
what?
is salt coming out of your bag?
You know what? Actually, what I want is for
Who was it who had all the food? Oh, right.
Rick doesn't need to make this roll, but actually, if Lionel, Godwin, and Manny could each just roll 1d6 for me, that'd be great.
Ooh.
Rick doesn't have to make this roll because he can.
Oh,
sense and nuts all the
Is this
salt in
is
that
this to
bag.
He
see
doesn't have
who
to eat.
kills Rian?
Yeah.
This is who gets the honor of killing Rian. Great guys.
R/1d6
Also, I'm really
or slash
disappointed.
R? I always forget.
Slash R.
Yeah, slash R.
R1d6.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Great. Okay.
Odds only, baby.
Okay,
What are the odds?
Interesting. Okay.
Very
So
It's
we'll
sequential
resolve
order.
this. We'll resolve this from lowest to highest. Interesting. Many.
Mhm.
You just eat. You don't necessarily even notice that anything's been messed with.
Manny doesn't care.
My mind is elsewhere.
Yeah.
It's thinking about tactics and strategies and lightning being absorbed.
I would like you to.
It seems like marking experience. I definitely missed that one.
I would like you. I would like you to mark the debility sick, please.
Mm.
All right.
Ooh.
Man, that's pretty sick.
No, I'm annoyed.
Lionel, you notice that something's wrong with the food. First of all, there's not as much as you thought there was, and second of all, it doesn't smell right to you. So I'll leave it to you whether you want to what you want to do with that. Godwin, you notice as Rian sits down and tosses things around in his bag, you catch a glimpse of the stuff that he stole from the food supply.
I guess if the food that I have has a weird smell, I'm gonna let Yildiz smell it and see what he thinks of it. He'd probably realize that there was something wrong with it.
This smells and goes, kind of just like.
So I
moves back
definitely
from it,
don't.
like a
I
cat
don't
would.
eat any food that seems spoiled.
Mm.
If there's any that seems fine, I'll like pick around the bad stuff, but I'm not gonna
Okay.
eat like the obviously.
It's not a very fun task because, without, as some of you know, without heavily salting meats get pretty bad pretty quick. So, you find what you can, but it's not super fun. But you're okay for the moment, other than being kind of upset.
Hmm.
So, and like I said, Godwin, you
So
catch Rian red-handed.
the fact that I feel sick or got sick as a result of eating it, does that clue me into anything? It's the only thing that I've done recently.
I'm having you mark the debility now, but you probably won't feel it for another hour or so.
I see.
So I'll let you resolve it at that point.
All right. So for the moment, then at least I'm ignorant of
Yeah.
consequences of someone else's malfeasance.
You've not been poisoned. You've not been the second. No, you are now the second person to get poisoned by Rian in this campaign.
That's true. In this party, I might add. Although
In
I
this
guess
party?
Rick was able to shoot off. No, Godwin got poisoned too, didn't he? Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, then
So you managed to
know what? I
poison
did forget
2 of
about
your
Rick.
comrades.
So 3, technically.
You
Well,
didn't hurt
no.
Rick, but technically you did poison him.
No, technically, you threw liquid at me that couldn't penetrate my rocky surface because I'm too tough for you.
But it felt hot, or whatever.
No,
Oh.
no, I completely blocked it.
So it
Yeah.
did feel hot, though. I do remember describing that.
Yeah,
but it didn't
because
hurt
you rolled
It just
you
felt
rolled a
weird.
critical failure, and it
Yeah.
meant that it was doing like some damage in that particular spot, and you're just like,
But you soaked the damage. Anyways,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter. It's a
just
semantic
nicked that
thing.
bit of stone out. You're like,
So, but anyways, Rian,
Rick would never admit that you poisoned him, so you don't know.
It's true. But anyways, Richard, you can mark that off your bucket list. You've managed to poison 3 of your own comrades in 1 campaign.
that's not
There
on
you
his
go.
bucket list. It's
Oh.
poison the entire party.
Okay, gotcha.
Or die trying.
All right.
Nice.
Well,
There's
Lyle
still
didn't
a
get
little ways
poisoned
to
yet,
go.
so there
There's
you
still 2.5 sessions.
I still
That's
got
right.
Ylvis, and I still got Lionel, and Thomas isn't here to hear this.
go. So, all right. Anyways, Godwin, so you catch him red-handed.
Godwin reaches into the satchel that he sees the stuff in and pulls it out, making sure that Rian can see that he found it.
Right.
Responsible, eh?
I
Could
was
you explain
wondering.
this?
I was wondering where that salt had gone to.
Yes, I'm sure you were. You knew what you did, my friend. I know you too well. There's no use lying to me. Dare you lie before God himself?
I dare lie before God, but not to Godwin. I apologize for my discrepancy.
Discrepancy?
I have a sickness, old friend.
No, Rian. You have a talent and an obsession. I know not what damage you've done by stealing this from our own group. But this is one step too far, friend. You and I shall speak about this tomorrow.
Understood.
But let us finish our meals, friends, and take our departure and continue tracking. Rian. Shame.
Interesting. Okay. Nice. Shame. For shame, sir. All right. Well, the merry meal continues with another hitch until Lionel, you spot what you were hoping to see off in the distance. The top ends of smoke rising up into the air. It looks maybe an hour, and maybe a little over an hour away. But unless there's another small group also in this rocky plateau, come on, that's got to be the orcs. There's a small sort of smattering of trees along the way, and it looks like they've camped out on one side of that. You can't see them from here, obviously, but you can see the tops of the smoke, like I said.
Yeah. All right. I walk over to where Godwin is sitting, whatever, standing, whatever he's doing, and I just point to the horizon where the smoke is rising, and I go, "It seems we've had a bit of luck at the very least."
Ah, terrific. Your eyes, aren't they magnificent?
Well, we will definitely have the drop on them, considering we know exactly where they are. Looks to be about an hour, maybe a bit more out, but
Do you recommend silence?
kind of hard to say. Orcs, I mean, if you considering these orcs specifically, their stronghold has just been taken. They wouldn't know us from Adam, right? Good, bad. We show up about an hour after they leave the cave. Well, 2 hours, I suppose, with the travel time, but they might not look at us in a great light. On the other hand, they wouldn't, judging on what I expect their numbers to be, they wouldn't have much of a fight left in them, I'm sure. And while orcs are brash, they're not as stupid as many make them out to be. They might not be itching for a fight right now.
Yes.
Might be one of the rare occasions where it would be easier to actually have a parlay with them. But that's up to you. Toss it over while we walk, I suppose.
Let me know when we are closer. You know what I mean.
Understood. And
Thank you.
Lionel would actually also walk around the rest of whatever small camp we've made and start collecting the others, letting them know which way we're headed.
Right, gotcha. Understood. As you do that, then, Rick would take the time, like he said, to contemplate things and rock it up, heal himself. So, Rick, I will say, obviously, you have easy time finding rocks to patch up the injuries you have taken. You may heal 4 hit points this time. And the sensation you felt the last time you patched yourself up returns. And again, it's odd, Rick. Again, if he had a stomach, you'd describe it as indigestion. Like something's repeating on you. But this time it's a lot worse. It's more like it's sort of leveled up to heartburn. That sensation of something coming back up on your throat and there's like a burning to it. Again, Rick doesn't have heart or a throat, so it doesn't feel like that exactly. So, Mr. Godwin, I don't feel so good. Starts turning to sad. You continue. You feel fine, like you usually do when you patch yourself up, but there's something inside of you that's off. You almost feel dizzy, like you've dropped down and gotten back up really quick, and like the blood hasn't rushed back to your head yet. Like you're just feeling a little weird, and it's troubling because you've never felt that way when you've patched yourself up before.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, you do heal 4 HP. However, the next roll that you will make that has to do with either strength, dexterity, or constitution will take a -1.
Okay.
So, okay, and Godwin also wants to heal using his art. So, Godwin, why don't you go ahead and make that roll? What is that? Arcane art, I think?
Arcane art, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I take a -1 or at -1.
You will take a -1 the
Okay.
next time you make that roll. So say -1 forward, I guess.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Yep. Right. So you got a 9. Your spell still works, but you draw unwanted attention or your magic reverberates to other targets, affecting them as well. GM's choice. Interesting.
Oops.
Okay. So. Okay. So I'm assuming that the effect you are picking is the heal 1d8 damage.
That's right.
Okay. So, everyone who might be injured, including Godwin, can go ahead and roll 1d8 and heal that much. Actually, no, Godwin just needs
Godwin rolls, yeah.
Yeah. Never mind. Yeah, so never mind, Chris.
Let's take Manny's roll.
Yeah, let's take Manny's roll.
We'll just everyone heal 5, cut the difference, right?
As it goes, first the worst, second the best.
So, no, we'll take Godwin's roll. I think that's how it's supposed to work. So
sabotage again, huh, dear friend?
everyone who's injured can heal 4 HP. So.
Alrighty.
I only need to heal 1 HP. Can I move some of the heal over to somebody else?
Nope. There's no heal share.
Oh, and their mind is shaken clear of 1 enchantment. Interesting.
So, yes.
No, that's a
You
choice.
get one of those.
Oh,
Yeah, but
one
he-
of those. Oh,
He chose
Yeah.
to heal, yeah.
But he
I
chose
see.
to heal. Yeah.
okay. I thought it was all of them. Like, damn.
No, it's one of those. All right. Well, anyways, so let us then, now that Lionel has told the party where everyone's going, assumably everyone has gathered up at this point. Rick, the feeling of nausea, we'll call it nausea, has passed, but obviously you're aware of
Yep.
the mechanical effect there. But
That's
you're like,
fine.
okay, that's weird. But you're patched up now, at least. And you begin the march towards the orc camp. Lionel, are you still taking point?
Stop patching all these radioactive rocks into you.
So, and yeah, well, so yeah, I don't see any problem with your request, Lionel. The floor is yours.
All right, so as Lionel is taking point, he would actually call for Rian to actually come and walk with him. As Rian drinks all this salt water from his backpack.
Much like what I just did, Reed wouldn't have expected it. He would have been taking a drink from his flask or his horn, and he would have gotten the call and like choked on it, not being expected to have been called upon for, reasons. And
Rian, you have just as sharp eyes as I do, and it's a wide plateau. We'll need more eyes.
he doesn't even respond. He sheepishly just kind of goes over there. You require my aid?
It's not an easy job to cover all the ground in front of you. When you're in a forest, you only need to worry about a small bubble, but an empty plateau like this, extra eyes need to look extra directions. Besides, I thought we might have a small chat. It is so rare that you and I converse.
That it is, but it feels like you don't like me very much. Which is understandable. I am but a rogue.
But believe it or not, Lionel, I don't dislike you quite as much as you might think. If nothing else, you confuse me. As I've said, your eyes are just as sharp as mine. Your ears just as good. I dare say your fingers are quite a bit quicker. I don't know. You find the need to take and take and take. I know you don't owe me anything, but I wanted to ask if there's somewhere that stems from. Do you find that you're not getting enough?
He kind of takes a knee and stares out into the distance a little bit there. It's not that I don't have enough. The want comes in waves, but never goes away. Godwin saw my talents as a gift. But I've never felt righteous. Not once. Not unto him, not unto God.
Sometimes it's hard to see the path you have to walk. Being righteous isn't something that necessarily has to come from God or Godwin. It's something you have to find for yourself. Before I became a scout for the witch hunter incursions, I used to be a man of quite a bit of wealth. I can understand where you're coming from with the want creeping in. There's always a want for more. I get that. And, this is something you'll have to find out for yourself in your own way, but I found that, aside from a few limited things, once my wealth left and I let that want walk out of my life, I stopped wanting for things, life got a lot better. Sure, I was stuck hunting witches, but it was simple, even peaceful for the most part, aside from when I get dragged on incursions like this.
The difference is, I can't stop. And he looks at you, and he was using his hand to shield his eyes from the sun as he's trying to look across. He just gestures. I am not able to stop these hands. You're able to decide whether or not you can want more. But even if I don't want, it's not possible to stop. Godwin says it's a gift, but I've always assumed it to be a sickness. Something I've deserved for something I've done in a past life. Doesn't matter. It's the lot I have. And I've lived it every day. If you can decide to stop being wealthy, that's different from never having it at all. And never stopping just for wealth.
I can definitely understand never having had it at all, but I do wish to make quite clear, my lack of wealth was never a decision. That was thrust upon me just as your curse was thrust upon you. Nonetheless, like I've said, these are lessons you will have to learn for yourself, and with time, hopefully you will, and perhaps you'll find a way to use that curse to your benefit. In the meantime, should you think of any way I can help to temper the want, anything at all, please do not hesitate to ask me. I would hate to see such talent go to waste.
Unless you are happy with me rifling through your pockets, I don't know that you can do much.
You leave my spear and Gilvis alone. I don't much care what you take of mine.
At this point, you're on the perimeter of the orc camp. You can hear them through gaps in the trees. You can see them. Each of you can kind of spy how they've set up. They don't seem to have heard your approach or don't really care. The leader, and you can only really tell he's a leader by the usual way orcs determine it. He's the biggest and obviously the most muscular of the five. He's sitting on basically like a tree stump in the middle of the... I've heard that before. He's sitting on a tree stump sort of in the middle of the clearing. There's a silent strength to him. You can understand why he's an orc chieftain, or was an orc chieftain, maybe. Don't know if he can still be a chieftain of 5 orcs. And yet, there's introspection that he's obviously sort of undergoing. For those of you a little bit more contemplative, you'd almost strike you as if he was sort of navel-gazing. Just thinking about stuff. So, whether or not you think
about
orcs...
stuff.
Whether or not you think orcs are deep enough to think that way, that's definitely what it looks like to you. How does he compare size-wise to many? He's not quite as brawny as many. But he definitely is the the biggest guy here. All of the other orcs are like regular man-sized, like 5'10" or whatever. And this guy is a little over 6 foot. And like I said, obviously, like he's packing muscle where all the other orcs just look decently, fit. So, compared to the width of Rick. Just the orc stuff, the girth of Rick. The other, there's 3 other orcs that are at the moment just sort of like chomping down on something. Obviously, something they've caught in the woods or whatever. It doesn't look like they bothered to cook it all that much, even though they had a fire in the middle. Maybe orcs just like it that way. The 5th one was obviously a moment ago feeling a lot worse for wear. You can see he was actually on sort of like a wheeled cart, not like a full carriage like you'd have a horse pull, but just like a cart with like 2 wooden stems and 2 wheels that you would maybe pull behind you with rice on it or something like that. And he's now sitting up and kind of rubbing his head and looking down at his arms, and there's a bit of a shock, a look of surprise on him. None of the other orcs have noticed him or don't care. But he's kind of looking down with sort of a face of like, oh. And it doesn't really strike any of you as anything except Godwin. It dawns on you that you think you actually might have healed him when he used the amulet to heal your party. You're convinced of that fact as you look at him, kind of looking over his hands and feeling in the front of his head where he had like a bandage wrapped. Anyway, so that's sort of the setting as you sort of approach the perimeter. Like I said, the orcs either haven't noticed you yet or don't care because they're just going about their day or evening, I guess, at this point. And I should say, by the time you're on this perimeter, it is it's not the dead of night, but the sun is gone. So I guess this is like twilight, the moon starting to rise kind of thing. With that, how will you proceed, gentlemen?
I believe it is, and Godwin says this to the men around him.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it is now time to introduce ourselves.
If
Perhaps we
anyone
can
would-
make companions.
Anyone would know what it was that Reaper wanted with the orcs, it would be the orcs in question. Hopefully, they're in a
Indeed.
chatty mood.
Very
That's fine.
well. Let us ask some pointed questions. And Many draws his sword.
No swords.
And Many starts striding forward.
No, not
Rick
Godwin-
is sitting.
Godwin jogs ahead of many to get to the camp.
Sorry, Rick is sitting.
Yeah, Rick is sitting still unless Godwin
Right. Asks him
Like,
to move forward. You're just gonna.
asks him directly. He's
Right.
assuming he's not part of the group at this point.
Gotcha.
You said
Okay.
there was like a sparse
chilling.
tree line near where we are?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So the orcs are covered by trees, but it's sparse. You can just see through them. You can walk through them.
All right. Yeah. So Lionel would post up. Like, he wants Parlay to go well, but he's going to post up near the tree line and get ready to loose some arrows if need be.
Right. Gotcha. And what about you, Rian?
Rian, if Rick's gonna be chilling, that's cover right there. Rian's gonna keep an eye on. If Lionel had said that Rian has about as good an eye as he does, well, that means that he can keep an eye on more than just that immediate area, just to make sure that nobody gets caught from another direction. So he can do Overwatch from up there, I think.
Okay.
So
So anyway,
next to Rick or behind Rick or in Rick's general area.
gotcha. So, portable full cover equals sneak attack at all times. Meanwhile, so Many has strayed forward with his sword out, and Godwin, you've jogged to try to get in front of him. So
Yes, and as we approach sort of the tree line to where their encampment is,
yes.
before, I'd say, giving them enough time to sort of hear me say it and react to it, I shout, "Hark!"
Okay, and Dad, I hope you're still with us because the mighty Bront has heard humans approach, and one of them yell "Hark!" And from your perspective, you're hanging out on a tree stump waiting for your men to prepare you your meal, and two humans step out from the tree line.
I am the mighty Bront. What you want?
Mighty Bront, and Godwin emerges from the tree line, ahead of many.
I'm presuming you've got a lead of maybe a few sentences.
Yes.
We come with no quarrel, but mere questions for your group. Please. It is just me and my many.
Ask your questions.
Oh, great and powerful Bront. Mighty
At this
Bront.
point, Minnie emerges from the tree line, sword in hand.
Putting his hand out to sort of like stop many behind him. We know why it is you are not at the cave, why you are no longer at the cave.
Because you're cowards who fled.
Many?
No, that's not true. Bront took a strategic retreat.
And it was strategic. But what it was from is the question.
Yes, well, Bront saw the invader, but not know who he is.
Very well.
And yet he seemed intent on murdering you all. Strange behavior for a stranger.
Was there something in that cave that you or the other orcs were doing?
To help you out, Dad, here, you remember, if I'm just remind you from last session, you were prepping an escort party for the shaman Zulu. That was what you were in the middle of doing when this stranger appeared. So.
Okay, so what is that? Is that what I say?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just reminding you what happened last week. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was prepping party for shaman.
The shaman. Yes. Of course. Of course.
Mage. And Many looks as though something had finally connected for him. It would seem our angel of death is a witch hunter too.
So you have realized it too, then, Many. Mighty Bront, we appreciate your wisdom and allyship, hopefully.
That's yet to be seen.
Put away the sword, Many.
Many sort of more casually holds the sword, but it's far from away. It looks more like Many is lost in thought than that he is ready to cleave anybody, though.
Right. So are you sort of like staring in the middle distance kind of thing?
More like he's focused on another enemy who's beyond where these people are standing.
Gotcha. 1,000-yard stare then.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know then, Mighty Bront, what it is that took place in that cave.
Not all of it. I had to leave quickly.
I'm sorry, but upon our arrival, there was no one left alive. Including the shaman.
That is unfortunate.
I offer you my condolences and the condolences of my group, whether they like it or not.
Thank you.
Very well. You've answered my questions, and that is greatly appreciated. Would you allow us to take leave and let you continue?
Yes. I can give you a general direction of where to go.
Where to go? Yes, absolutely. Anything you know, we would love to know.
So Bronk gives you a general direction of where to go.
All right. How does Bront know this?
Does Bront want to explain what he's pointing them towards? Because I wrote it down for you.
Way.
What direction is this? Just pointing tells us nothing. How do you know where this creature
My pointing
is to be
tells you
found
nothing.
next?
My pointing tells you which way to go. What are you talking about?
You have to do this in character.
I just did something in character.
Where is Bront's voice?
I think maybe nothing more is forthcoming at this time.
Okay.
This NPC has run out of dialogue. Thank you.
Okay, it's just I gave him. Okay.
Well, wish you luck, but not willing to go with you.
I would
Not
have
that we'd want
appreciated.
you.
We would have appreciated your allyship, but we shall remember you, Bront.
Bronk turns back to his men and he starts to eat.
Nice.
Off we
He
go.
eats
Off-
them?
Now tell me, Dad, is Bront satisfied with his new cook? Because last time the meat was tough.
Well, beggars can't be choosers.
Fair enough.
Oh, yeah. Nice. All right. Gentlemen, it is 9:10. I will see you at 9:20. Assume your
Alright.
characters are hanging out with the orcs and having a good time.
Yeah, sure.
I'm actually
Yeah.
hanging out with Dora the Explorer.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
So,
Something 10-second tidy.
yeah, only 3 choices. Brian isn't cooking. The one guy is unconscious. Yeah.
That's
Do
a
you
different
guys
choice.
want to
So
go
we're
on a
going-
15-minute break?
We're going on a 15-minute break. We'll be back at 9:25.
So, wait, 9:20. No.
Ah!
All right, and we are back. Let's keep it going here. Thanks a lot.
Konnichiwa.
Thanks a lot to Bob Kiefer for cameoing again as Bront. I really appreciate it. Like he's described, Bront has pointed you in a direction and mentioned this is the way you should go. And then, as soon as Godwin replied, Bront sort of spun on his tree stump and turned to his men to eat. And again, the orc sort of resumed not paying you much mind. Some of the other orderlies kind of just are eyeing the two of you up and down, but as soon as Bront kind of starts chomping down, the others ease off. So Godwin and Many, you are sort of just left standing in the clearing, and the others are in the tree lines. So, stage is yours, I guess, Godwin.
You're staring again, Many. Deep in thought again?
In consideration, there are tactics to be considered. A head-on assault will not avail us.
That rules you out.
Very funny. There has been no need for anything but a forthright attack under your leadership. But this creature will require something more of us.
Well,
Perhaps more than we have to give.
that we can be sure of.
You seem so eager to pursue him. Didn't your god tell you something?
What my god told me, I've already relayed, and that is that there is always hope.
Then your god's a liar, as well as a fool. There's no hope for the dead.
Ah, we're not dead yet. Yet!
It's always just a matter of time, Godvin. You know that.
Of course I do. But we need a plan, Many.
I agree.
Time is not something we have. A plan might be.
Then we should begin with this. Orc's direction. You have no reason to trust him, but no reason to distrust either. At the very least, pointing us in the direction of his clan's murderer. Might get him some measure of revenge.
I'm sure it would give Rick some satisfaction.
Rick seems traumatized by his encounter with this individual.
He does.
Unsurprising. It is a shame that we do not have his friends. Another few rockmen would be very helpful right now.
I can only imagine what took place before we met Rick. Perhaps I'll ask him about it.
In the meantime, I shall continue thinking. There must be a way. There's always a weakness.
When you find it, I should be the first to know.
Many gives you a thin smile, but doesn't make any promises.
Okay, Godvin, do you return to the other three and relay what Bront has mentioned?
Yeah, I guide Many back if he's not able to think and walk at the same time.
Okay. All right, well, then I guess the pair of you join the three who stayed in the tree line then.
Well, gentlemen, we have a direction. Rick, Lionel, Rian.
And what is in that direction? Did the orc happen to say, or we're just running on a whim?
You're asking the right questions.
Fair
I
enough.
believe it is something important.
Well, you're the boss, so if you say we go that direction, we go that direction.
We shall find out when we get there.
Do you intend to fight him?
If that is what must be done, then we will attempt to see to it.
There is no fighting him. You will die.
Everyone dies, Rick. It is a given. But we don't intend to.
It wouldn't be too much different from witch hunting, as you understand it. The threat of death is constant, fighting the creatures of the night.
Do the witches that you've encountered move at superhuman speed? Do they have a resilience close to my own? Are they able to absorb what you would consider magic and use it to their own benefit? Are they able to take out an entire tribe of orcs without even breaking a sweat?
I know not what every person on this world is capable, Rick. I've seen that from your Reaper.
Have the witches and wizards you've encountered have a moral code? Do they stop at no killing?
Rick, I hate to point it out to you, but everyone in this party you're in follows a different moral code. Look at Manny. He doesn't wear pants.
If you are not prepared going into this to kill this person, the end result will be the same.
Well, how the worm does turn. Weren't you the one advising us against unnecessary killing?
What's to say this isn't necessary?
Good answer.
This negativity is getting us nowhere on our journey. I say we set route towards the direction we were given and think nothing of it. Nothing else.
Godvin, what is in that direction?
Okay, Godvin, I'd like you to spout lore, please.
Spout lore.
Wow,
Spouting lore. Let's be real.
I'm crossing fingers. I want to hear the ocean.
Okay. Well, you just based on where Bront was pointing, you've heard of a magnificent structure in that direction. That's all you've got, but there's a marvel of architecture. A magnificent tower that can be seen from miles and miles away. Descriptions like that you've picked up from various settlements you travel through. I mean, Bront could have been pointing at 10 bazillion things. Like, he was just pointing northeast. He could have just pointing at a flock of seagulls, for all you know. But that's in that direction, too.
Well, Rick, in that direction lies a great piece of architecture, and we are going to see it. You, me, and these three gentlemen. Simple as that.
Why do you continue to bring me with you?
Because I like you, Rick.
And also, not to speak for Godvin, obviously he is in charge here, but as far as I'm concerned, you have leave to go at any time You don't have to stick with us should you choose not to.
I am surprised you're still at our side.
But really, where are you going to find better companionship?
I have the sneaking suspicion that whether I'm here or not, you will try and face that person we encountered. Or they might just try and encounter you instead. With that thought looming over my head, I can't let you face them alone, but know this, I will do my best to protect all of you. But my best will not be enough. And Godwin, you need to stop trying to control me. You need to let me do what I do.
You should listen to the Rockman, Godwin. He has a good heart, a merciful one. It will be his undoing.
Yes. Yes, you are not in the employ of the army. Therefore, you are free to do what you will. You are not under my command. And yes, absolutely. Very good.
And let's get moving.
I know we seem to have made up our mind on going to this great architectural marvel, but I would like to quickly put on the table a slight reminder that returning to camp is always an option, where that monster isn't, hopefully.
What camp?
Again, we saw
Besides,
smoke. We don't know
Lionel,
anything happened to the camp.
what makes you so certain that he didn't go there first? Something burned our camp to ashes and killed an entire orc tribe. You saw how fast he moved.
We only know one of those things is true.
Hmm.
And as I said back in the cave, if that's the case, he has already been to the camp. So likelihood he'll be there again. It's lower.
Lightning often strikes the same place.
I'm
As
just
far-
saying it's on the table, but I'm pretty sure the mind of the group is already made up.
Running
As
away
far-
accomplishes nothing.
Just
If
because
I
I'm
can-
old doesn't mean I want to throw what little life I have left away. But I am in the employ of the army, so I do what must be done.
I suppose it comes down to you, valiant leader.
Rick
Direct
tries to interject each time it gets cut off. Last I checked, this Reaper fellow can't control fire.
Well,
So whatever burned down your camp was something else.
Any man can command fire, Rockman. Any man.
But enough fire to burn down your camp in one sitting?
It would be easy. Our men were poorly trained, underprepared, poorly fed. This war has been going on for a generation. They might have burnt it down themselves. They might have all run away. They might have all died before they even managed to pull their swords out. It would have been easy.
Many, please. Do not speak ill of the men who we fight alongside.
I speak no ill, just facts.
You
We
also
too
sound
are
weirdly
dregs.
envious.
All things coming to an end. Finally. Thankfully.
No,
Are we
Lionel,
going or not?
We shall not make our way back to camp. We do have intel. We'll make our way after this detour, let's say. Onward. Let's go.
Very good. Lionel sighs when he knew this was coming to the outcome.
And
Yeah.
what exactly are we going to see when we get there? Don't worry about it. Okay.
Probably going to be fine.
Did
Why
you
would you
answer
worry?
that question to yourself, Rian? Like, did you say that whole conversation
Yes.
out loud?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was wondering if was
Don't
Rian talking
worry
to himself?
about it. Fine.
Oh,
Like
Rian,
aside to himself.
yeah, to
Maybe
himself. Yeah.
maybe his hands really are controlled by something else.
Fine. Fine.
Kleptomania and schizophrenia. Oof,
It's possible. This place is
Yeah.
messed up.
that's true.
It's a good
What do
combo.
you think? All right.
Little puppet. All right. Well, given that, the orders to march towards this architectural marvel is given. And the night turns to dawn, turns to afternoon, turns to evening again before you get even a sign of anything resembling anything like a marvel. You pass lots of trees, lots of hills. Is it actually like a crab? Lots of barren areas, lots of nothing. There's lots of that actually. In fact, Rick, I'll mention this to you since you're sort of a stranger in a strange land. But as you continue marching, all of this area kind of strikes you as like this wasn't like this always. So if you get back, this is sort of like almost like a wandering through the wastelands kind of vibe. Obviously, there's no nuclear devastation, but you get the idea that maybe at one time these little smutterings of trees were actually large forests. These barrens were actually grain fields or places that had houses on them.
So like this used to be a civilization, but nature took over.
Yeah, or it's starting to take over.
Okay,
So,
interesting.
you every so often you march and you catch like the very bottom of what might have been like a building foundation, like still in the ground. And there's like whole houses have just been like blown away like in a hurricane or something.
Interesting.
Nobody else pays it any mind, but that's how it strikes you. Like you're walking through an area that might have been a city once upon a time.
Fascinating.
As you continue marching, though, like I said, as night turns to morn and morn turns to afternoon, now turns to evening again, now on the edge of your vision in the horizon, you see a vast tower. That's really the only way to describe it. It's a huge, single standing structure that seems to be a blend of stone and metal. It rises up tens of stories into the air. At the top, it has sort of a setup similar to a lighthouse, but obviously there's no, bulb or electricity or anything like that. But it does look like it's shaped like the bowl of a torch or a candle holder. But there could be some kind of signal beacon or flame there. The tower is ebon black and so blends in to the black background in the evening, but you can see it reflected. You can see it shimmering in the light of the setting sun and the rising moon. It's still quite a ways off, but you can sort of make out a couple of standards that are draped across some of the higher perches on this tower. And when I say tower, it's like literally a single like pillar, basically stuck in the ground. At the very top, like I said, there's like a little bowl shape, like someone could light some kind of flame, and around that bowl, there's just a couple of sort of like spikes, almost like a bird's nest made of sharp twigs.
Sorry, you might have said this already, but in like stories generally, I know this is not for our characters, but for us, how many stories tall, roughly?
Oh, how many stories tall? 30, 30-ish.
Okay. Tall as hell. Okay, gotcha.
So yeah,
A billion.
And yeah, it dwarfs anything else that most of you have seen. Although, like I said, now seeing the tower, seeing the standards, although you can't quite make out the markings, most of you, except probably Rick logically, would immediately identify this building. Be it or not, this has all the markings of a wizard tower.
Ooh.
Now, there are lots and lots of mages across the continent. Most make out living dwellings for themselves wherever. The less powerful, like the seers and the fortune tellers, make their living in shanty towns until they're found out and burnt at the stake. The ones that can command the elements, much like that shaman you encountered, obviously can command armies. After all, that is sort of the whole rotating point of the war, whether or not any of you are aware of that. But yes, you would be immediately aware that this must be a wizard's tower. Whether or not there's still a wizard in this tower, it's hard to knock over a wizard's tower. There's just something about the architecture of it, and possibly its magic origin, that makes it almost impossible to destroy once it's up. But given that there's still standards flying at the top of the tower, maybe there still dwells a wizard here. And you are technically now back inside the Arnvel border, leaving the mountain ranges left enemy territory behind. So, at the very least, if the wizard's not a friend, he must be an ally of Arnvel to have such a conspicuous structure here.
Does it look familiar to Rick at all? Like the architecture or the style or anything like that?
Does it look familiar to you?
That's interesting.
Only familiar to you in that, like, you've read Lord of the Rings and you know fiction and all of that. Like, you could draw to the same conclusion of, like, this looks like a wizard's tower out of a book.
Oh,
kind
okay,
of
so
thing?
it doesn't look like anything modern day type of idea.
Oh, no. Definitely
Okay.
not.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Rick walks up and smashes it. No, I'm kidding.
So,
I don't know. You did that last campaign with something, so.
so you broke the device there, yeah. Anyways, so like I said, you're still hours away from actually being at its gates, but it's now close enough and conspicuous enough that all of you can see this tower. So, Godvin, you definitely found an architectural marvel. You didn't know that it was a wizard's tower per se, although you had heard rumors that there was a tower in this direction. And yeah, maybe it's quite possible that Bronte was aware of this. If there was a shaman amongst the orc tribes, then perhaps they had some sort of knowledge of other mages in the area. Who knows?
Sweet.
But it's not impossible to imagine.
Well, this was not ideal.
Why exactly are you bringing us to this wizard's tower? Do you think we could find some kind of artifact or minutiae inside?
Provided there's no one inside, that is a good idea.
That seems unlikely.
It does.
Perhaps some light could be shed on why that strange person was hunting a shaman. Should we step into somewhere where magic is accumulated. Perhaps something here will shed light on what's really going on. Perhaps not, but good a place to start as any, I'd say.
In this case, the enemy of our enemy is not our friend, but a greater enemy. Perhaps it... And I do hate this. But perhaps our chances would be increased if we had greater assistance.
But you have God on your side. What more do you need? Don't bother answering that. I was only being humorous.
Actually,
Let's seek the assistance of this mage. One of them will kill us.
well, actually my name is Rick, but sure, we can go with what you said.
Oh, everyone thinks they're a wit today.
Also, why do you hate witches? I'm still kind of confused by all of this.
Have you guys stopped at this point, or are you still moving towards the tower as you continue to speak?
I'm assuming
we're
this is along the way.
Yeah, we're slowly tottering in that direction. You said it was still quite distant.
Yeah.
Yeah. We haven't had time for a history lesson.
Well, I mean, like, I don't know, like, did they do something?
Did they do something?
Did they do something?
Did they destroy a nation? Did they nuke a continent? Did they fart sideways? Like,
my dear friend Rick, they have had an iron grip on our society and kept us in fear.
And they use that iron grip to tear us apart.
Yes.
you know why?
Malice? I would assume.
Boredom.
No.
Boredom.
I think.
Is this before or after the witch hunt started?
The war started with magic, and we would have had to retaliate.
In fact, the first witch hunter armies belonged to the mages. They used them to kill their enemies when a fireball or explosion wouldn't suffice. When they thinned each other's numbers down far enough, then, and only then, could civil governments not controlled by the mages start to emerge.
So, okay, well, not my world, so whatever. Does that mean now you go and hunt people that are innocent of any of these deeds that show some inkling towards magic affinity?
Godwin grabs his pendant. No, Rick. We do not.
Then what witches do you hunt?
Those which subjugate us. That continue to.
Torturers. Tyrants.
So, assholes, but with magic.
Precisely.
– – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – –– – –– – –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– Make no mistake, we are called witch hunters, but this is still a war. It's not as though we're, heading out and doing assassinations. It is truly a fight that is being fought on many fronts, very openly. It's not one-sided at all.
Godwin looks at Lionel. Is it?
Then the last question I have is, without the ability to manipulate magic, how do you fight those that do? How do you win?
Pointy things, ideally.
Surprise.
Yes, the answer is typically sheer numbers or better planning.
And when that fails?
There's a lot of blood left on the field.
No plan survives enemy contact.
In all honesty, Rick, normally when that fails, we either get eliminated or we run. In a straight fight between our legions, our battalions, and a cadre of truly impressive witches, we stand little chance. In a straight
And if it's the... Rick has to do like a head count. 5 of you against a witch.
Manny gives him a very thin smile. Let's hope they're sleeping.
Nice.
I will say, though our rank, aside from Godwin's, might not denote it, this particular party is made up of much more talented pieces than the general army. At least I like to think. Perhaps call it hubris, but if we found ourselves against a single, maybe even 2 witches, there's a chance for us where others might fail.
I see. Well, like I said before, I will do my best to protect you all. That is all I can promise.
And we deeply appreciate that. It's nice to know that someone as sturdy as you is watching out for us.
Yes.
Nice.
You should mind your own well-being, Rockman. Don't spend yourselves on our behalf. Every member of this troop, every member of every armor, of every army everywhere, their fate was sealed a long time ago.
As you continue marching towards the tower, those of you a little bit more perceptive, with good eyesight and all of that, can now make out what the symbol on the standard is. There's no mistaking it. And once you guys are able to make out the standard, it's both intimidating and also better than maybe you could have expected. But it's the standard of Cassis. Everyone in Arnvel knows the name of Cassis the Mage. He is one of the oldest still living mages. I still say living because most of them either get killed off by a rival or get hunted. And I would ask, I don't know whether many knows many mages of Arnvel. That's up to you to decide, Chris. But I will ask
How
Lionel...
many does many?
I will ask Lionel, Rian, and Godwin all to make a spout lore roll. If you'd like, you can opt out of it if you don't think you have a chance. But I'll give the 3 of you a chance to make a spout lore roll to see what you might know about Cassis.
My fox actually has under his his training, he's trained to know all wizards. So
okay.
Bonus, yeah.
I get to mark XP.
Oh, Chris gets a 4.
Level.
Gets a 6.
Oh, I thought I rolled. I did not roll.
I'm going to roll. Yeah, I didn't think I would do too well.
Lionel gets
I got
a 5.
a 3. So.
Oh my god. Okay. That's 4 nothing.
None of us have any freaking clue.
I did worse than you guys. I didn't even get to roll.
Well,
We all rolled low numbers.
okay, the good news is all of you get to mark an XP. Yay!
Christian, you leveled up.
Yeah. No.
So
So,
did Chris.
Yeah, it's a level for me too.
yeah. So
Yay.
we'll resolve that at the
CNC
end.
connection.
Yeah.
I mean, if you let me use my wisdom modifier instead of my int modifier.
See, the real key here is we all thought this was a low consequence roll, so we're all like, oh, cool. Just get my free XP and move on. And then it's like, and this was the one thing that their survival pivoted on.
This
And
is-
this
Do we
is
know
when
who
you're all
Cassius is?
disintegrated.
Do we?
You really
need
needed to know what Cassis thought of you guys, and well,
The
no.
roll, the number of the roll denotes how much you die. So
Yeah, that's right.
many dies 4.
Well, I'll say, like, lore-wise, it would make sense for Rhea not to know who that is because he was just poor, scrounging for crap all the
Yeah.
time.
What an
Yeah.
interesting surprise. Int is everyone's dump stat.
Yeah. Who would have
That's
guessed?
why we
Strength was
joined the
mine.
army.
Strength
guessed
was
who-
mine.
Who guess? Yeah, who would have guessed that disgraced witch hunter soldiers would have it as a thumbstat? I want everyone who does not currently have it marked to take the stunned debility, please.
Oh no, my intelligence is even worse now.
What about Rick?
Well,
Well,
Rick,
you
you
didn't
wouldn't,
roll.
you wouldn't know anything about Cassis. You don't know any of the wizards in this world. So it just
No,
looks
he
like a
means does he
flag
need
you.
to take stunned?
Oh no, not you. No, everyone.
Yay!
Everyone else.
You can
Yeah, I'm
take
still not
it
part of the
instead.
actual group, guys. Woohoo!
Well, you don't know what Cassis is. So
Honestly,
Neither
Rick,
do
count
we.
yourself lucky.
apparently neither of you guys.
Neither do we.
Rip.
Count yourself lucky.
So one of you probably just mumbles out loud, "That's the standard of Cassis." And then as everyone starts to try to rummage through their brain, they're like, "I have no idea who that is. Like, I know it's
I
a really
do,
important
but-
wizard." But like,
I-
it stresses you out because each of you feel like you should know something really important about him. He's a really, really important public figure. It's like not knowing the name of your prime minister. Like, it's just
Yeah.
like, you really should know
No.
something.
We know his
Wait,
name.
we have a prime minister?
We know his name, and we know that he's a big shot mage, and that's
Yeah.
about it.
That's
I
it.
do
And-
believe there's the standard of Cassius.
Yeah.
Who is Cassius?
So all you know is that that's the standard you're looking at, and you really feel like it would be pertinent to know something about him as you approach his home, but that's all that's coming to any of you. So
Was he the one who ripped off everyone's skins and then made them dance? Or was that someone else?
He may have been the man who turned that woman into a newt.
I
I
will
heard she got
say
better though.
many. I think the one that ripped off those people's skin and made them dance was you. Please stop conflating yourself with Cassis.
No promises.
oof. As you continue to approach, like I said, struggling to try to remember something about this dude.
We've been bedeviled. We all knew everything about Cassis. This is some kind of hex.
Maybe you have. Maybe that's.
I
Maybe
do
you're all.
believe
Maybe,
we're being bamboozled.
maybe you're all thinking now. Oh, he's casting something on us to fog our minds.
He's casting something.
One. Rick loses a level. No, I was kidding.
Yay! I died.
Yay.
I fit in now, guys.
You come to the bottom of the tower and you can see where people come in. There's a big archway, forged out of the rock, and the archway is, like I said, a sort of a blend of metal alloys and stone. And there's a pair of large, like, castle gates, like big, huge, lumbering, like could crush 10 people flat, huge, like solid wood doors. Or there would be if they hadn't been smashed. Currently, one of the giant, huge, solid wood doors is lying on the ground off of its hinges, and the other one is barely hanging on the other side, rocking slowly in the sort of slight wind of the evening. You can hear the metal, which has rusted with lots and lots of age, sort of creaking trepidatiously in the wind. It does not look very sturdy. Incidentally, the front door is open, and you can see into what looks like a main foyer. It's a huge round room. There's a couple of torches lit on either side that do very little to illuminate such a cavernous room. But you can make out dozens and dozens of bookshelves of books lining the circular room. At the back of the circular room, you can see a huge spiral staircase, which assumably ascends the entire length of the tower, and maybe stops here and there. And you can also make out at least 3 corpses. I say at least 3, because those are the ones that are still intact bodies, although you're pretty sure you see a couple of other limbs and things scattered around the room as well.
Oh, good. How fortunate. The door is open.
Well,
Here, I might have to go back to camp to get my lockpicking kit.
Well, gentlemen, no need for an invite. And Rian just darts in and wants to go and start taking things.
Rian, come back now.
Sorry.
Let me do something before you all move in. And Rick goes ahead and tries to... Oh, hold on. I'm setting up, guys. Oh my god.
Oh, there he is.
He wants to try to commune with the tower.
Right. Yes. Okay.
The magical stone.
I want you to roll discern realities.
Ooh, I'm tripping out, guys. Tripping balls.
What a strange name for a perception roll, but whatever.
System's got a few funny ones.
It makes sense, considering
Well, it's automation tracker.
Oh, well, Kurt, you got to level up as well.
Ah!
No, I already leveled up.
As you commune with the tower, mark an XP. As you commune with the tower, there's just a horrible force feedback. The tower cries out in pain. Not from you, but it's like, touching like a horrible burn victim. They got 3rd-degree burns and you've, slapped them on the arm. And they just, scream bloody murder at you. The feedback's harsh enough that you actually stumble back a little bit. And I'll give you a choice, Rick. You can take 1 debility of your choice, or you can suffer 5 damage.
Through soak?
I think it makes sense that I would be pretty stunned for a bit.
Please mark stunned then.
Yeah. I have the other 3 marked for now just for I would use those.
Yeah, the -1 forward. Right, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so the rest of you actually see Rick touch the tower and then actually physically stumble away from it. It's the first time you've ever seen him look off balance. It's a second, then you recenter, but yeah. Ooh, the tower screamed at you. Not pleasant.
What is it, Rick? Are you unwell?
Yeah, I haven't felt that before. Be on guard as we go in. Whatever happened here. It wasn't good.
Men at arms.
So no looting then.
Then he pulls his sword and runs his finger across one of the edges. Oh, I hadn't expected to be kittens and rainbows.
Niall looks at the give to bodies lying around. Yes. So prompted by Tom.
It's a good thing we have our rockmen to tell us that. We wouldn't have known otherwise.
So, as you guys step into the circular foyer, we'll continue to call it. And yeah, Thomas wrote in. Lila looks at the give to bodies lying around. Any of you who investigate the bodies, note two things. They're all human. And they've all been bashed the same way that you found the orc bodies. Severe blunt force trauma, they might say in a more medical way. Neck snapped, heads caved in, rib cages caved in, you name it. Each of them have suffered from a singular blow, which obviously killed them instantly. And they've just sort of been left strewn along the ground. So.
Are these people?
Yeah, they're humans, yeah.
Do we hear anything?
They're dressed. Yeah, hold on. They're all dressed in robes, priest-ish robes, but the colors of the robes match the colors of the standards that of casters that were flying on the top of the tower. If you had to put two and two together, you would say these guys were sorcerers' apprentices. It's not it's very common, in fact, for powerful mages to grab people to serve as their apprentices, whether or not they have magical abilities or not, just to, guard them. Some would be used literally as bodyguards. Others would just be used to, gopher and stuff like that. Maybe a couple of them might actually be magical in some way, and the mage grabs them at a young age to make sure that no one else gets them. He can raise them and indoctrinate them himself, kind of thing. Obviously, since you're just looking at corpses, it's impossible to know if any of these were just regular schmoes or if these were mages themselves. So,
under his breath, Gavin clasps the amulet and starts to pray out loud, under his breath, but out loud. Could I roll Arcane Art?
Sure, yeah. Wow, it's a 13.
It's a 13.
Okay. What was your intended effect?
I would like to give 1d4 forward to someone.
Okay. Who are you giving it to?
I'd like to give it to Rick.
Okay. Rick, you get 1 die forward to damage. The next time you roll damage, you'll get an extra d4.
Wait.
So, very good. Thank you, Godvin. Back to Richard's question about hearing something. Anyone who would like to may roll discern realities.
Ah, damn.
May I do so with my bonus from Ylvis?
Ylvis, indeed.
10.
Okay, is anyone else rolling? Oh, yes, Rick rolled. Okay.
You will roll.
Rick rolled. Haha.
I will give it a try.
I did roll,
Yeah.
but I will say I can't be surprised.
Right. Gotcha.
Oop.
Nice. Okay.
Wow, nice rolls. Actually,
Okay, so
Wow,
Lionel,
sixes.
Chris gets a double 6. Nice.
When it doesn't matter.
He knows many questions.
What do you get? 3 questions from the list below. Okay. I'll start with the ones who get 1 question. So I'll start with Rick and Rian. So Rian, you did ask me first, so I will let you ask your question first. So you can pick from the list, and we can sort of modify or tweak it if you have something specific in mind you'd like to ask.
So my first thought, as a player was, this is a tower. There's one way in, and also the same way out. I would like to be on the lookout for if there's any activity anywhere else in this tower still currently going on, because if so, we shouldn't be here, because leaving when they're done will kill us. So
Okay.
that's what I'm looking for activity, possibly.
And you're looking for activity. Okay. As far as you can tell, not a creature was stirring, as it were. You don't hear anything. Nobody's moving around in the foyer. You don't see anyone on the staircase. And the staircase is it's like an open spiral staircase. So, you don't know exactly what's on the top floor, but you can see up it. Right? You don't see anybody, wandering around on the staircase, whatever. You do catch a couple of slumped bodies hanging off of the railing here and there, though.
But is it just eerily quiet then?
It is eerily quiet, I would say, yes. So, or maybe regularly quiet. You don't know what a wizard tower sounds like exactly, but yeah,
not.
there doesn't seem to be anything stirring. Rick, I'll let you ask your question.
Based on the fact that they're saying this is a wizard tower, and me being a total nerd, I would be trying to look for like secrets that a wizard would keep. Like what here is not what it appears to be. Like is there like some like hidden vault where we can actually like get souped up magic weapons?
Okay.
Stuff like that, just in general. Like that.
Okay, so because you rolled a 9, I'm going to ask you to hone in on one thing. Pick one specific secret that you'd like to try to look for. So if you're looking for a vault with magic weapons, that's your choice. But then you can't also look for like a secret book or something. Like pick one secret that Rick would try to look for.
Well, what would wizards hide? Probably their most precious items, right? But Rick really isn't materialistic, so he would more generally want to look for something that's important to the wizard that he would try to keep hidden.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like I wouldn't be directly looking for weapons or looking for stuff like that. Like I wouldn't care about that. But like if there's something at like the corner of my eye that's just like, oh, there's a shiny thing. Oh, that's probably like an invisible door type of idea.
Right. Okay. So you aren't exactly successful in finding anything like that. But I will tell you one thing, because you did get a success, is that you get the sense just looking around and knowing something, granted because of your supernatural abilities with stonework and stuff like that. But I said about architecture, the tower strikes you as someone who is totally fine with having his powers on display. The tower strikes you as someone who, if he did have a magical super duper sword or whatever, he would just put it on a big display rack and put it in the foyer. So you don't find any cool hidden secrets, but you get the sense that this isn't a guy who locks up the fine china.
Got it.
So, okay, so to you, Lionel, I'll go to you next. You got a 10, so you can ask me 3 questions.
I would actually like to let Minnie go before me.
Oh, okay.
Just because we're on the same tier of success, and he got a crit, so he should just go first.
Okay, great.
Crit.
Manny, yeah, you got the 12, baby. You get to ask me 3 questions. You can pick from the list, or we can try to workshop something more specific if you want to ask something else.
All right. Well, I want to negotiate something with you. To take those 3 and roll them all into 1, both for the sake of time and patience, and also so that I can ask a bigger question.
Ooh, okay. Bigger question.
All right. It's pretty clear to everybody here. Reaper's in here. He's done all of this. Where is he now?
Okay.
What signs do I see? What information have I managed to glean in between seeing how he worked and moved and acted and fought the last time I saw him? What suggests to me where he is now and what it is that he's up to?
Right. Gotcha. Okay, so that's a great question, and I'm willing to answer it. Before I do, I'm just going to swivel back over to Thomas and ask, do you have a question for me that's not related to that I can answer before we resolve that?
Yeah, it's only very loosely related. Can I tell by the way these bodies are lying if he came through the front door? I mean, it is broken, but can I tell if I saw him crawl up the wall? Can I tell if he came from the top down or went up?
Yes, absolutely. He definitely came from the front door. As you, like I said, because of the nature of the staircase, you can see all the way to the top. And there's no damage to the ceiling or anything like that.
Okay.
It definitely looks like he punched it through the front door.
And I guess I will also ask outside of the obvious, Reaper showing up, dropping from the ceiling, whatever, what should I be on the lookout for? Is there any extra stuff that I can kind of glean by my surroundings, or?
The only other thing I would say is that there are there's a lot of little like nooks and crannies, corners around bookcases, and floorboards that may or may not be able to be pulled up, where people could sort of, hide out for a little while. So I'll just say there's lots of vantage points in here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put it that way.
Okay.
So,
I will act on that later. We can pivot back to Many now.
Okay. Many, because since you got a 12 and as you asked me the big question, exploring the edge of the foyer, as you step over one of the floorboards, it shifts, rather than shifting down under your weight, it shifts sideways. Like someone has recently pulled it up and then placed it back down, but it didn't quite lock into place. As it does so, you feel like you can hear what sounds like... It sounds like a whimper? Like someone went underneath it.
It's Newt. I pause and consider, and I gesture the others aside. And I set my sword sort of at an angle so that I'm pointing down into there. And then I reconsider and just put it down on the ground. And I lift the trap door, if indeed that's what it is, up.
Okay. And as you lift it up, you see another young man dressed in the same robes you've seen of the corpses. He's sitting inside what you realize is some kind of like dugout cellar, a place, where you'd keep like potatoes and maybe bottles of wine or whatever. In fact, there's some empty bottles sitting around him, and he's sitting like practically in a fetal position on the dirt floor of this little makeshift cellar, sort of shaking. And as the trapdoor lifts up, he just lifts his hands up in reactions. He says nothing, and he just has the most wild, like deer in headlights, like panicked look in his eyes as you lift up the panel.
Oh boy, you managed to survive. That at least is worthy of a little bit of consideration. Tell me, where is he?
Who do you speak of? The master or the one in black?
They will be in the same place, I imagine.
Lord Cassis, he was aware of the stranger. He arrived at greater speeds than any of us could have predicted. We had no time to rouse a defense or contact the Kingdom of Arnvel.
I'm not interested in your excuses, boy. Tell me where they are.
He shrinks like back every time you talk. Like every time he speaks might be his last sentence. I should say to everyone else. Although the guy in the cellar is speaking kind of hushed and panicked, I don't think many is. So probably all of you are hearing him having this conversation. You can start to work your way over to whatever corner he's
Weird.
in.
Why is Many talking to the floor?
Yeah.
Rick has a rock thing, Many has a wood thing.
Cassis flung one of his greatest spells at him and it did nothing. The stranger entered, but...
His spells. Fire. Lightning.
Cassis is Lord of Flame. All in Arnvel know this. Yes, except us. We all do.
We all know that he's the Lord of Flame.
He understood. He told us that he understood that the stranger was after him and him alone. I don't know. He must have left. He must have escaped. I hid down here. I had been sent down to bring up the wine for the evening when the door was destroyed. I closed the lid of the cellar and sat here. But I could hear it. I could hear them.
Assuming your master did not make his safe escape, where would he be?
If he did not escape, that is impossible. Cassis cannot be felled.
Mm-hmm. Where would he be?
At the top of the tower, of course.
Naturally.
You
Don't let me ruin your evening. And Minnie slams the door shut again.
Lionel pries it open. He doesn't even open it all the way. He just pries it open.
Yeah.
You said that your master knew of the stranger before he arrived?
Cassis is, He looks down. Lord Cassis told me not to tell anyone, but this seems like dire straits. Cassis was in communication with another mage in the mountainsides. She warned of a stranger dressed in black. He seemed to be targeting them. At least the two of them were convinced that he was targeting them. It must be because of the talks. He must be here to stop the talks.
Tell me of these talks.
The stranger kind of looks up at you. He's like, his face has gone from like traumatized PTSD to almost like a pleading face. Cassis was. Listen. I believe you to be Arnvel soldiers. You understand? I'm breaching my vow, my oath, by telling you this. But Cassis was organizing a peace talk. He had negotiated with several other mages to try to put a stop to the conflict. Some of the other mages, they're small people. The woman in the mountains was some kind of orc charlatan, but if a voice like Cassis told others to lay down their arms, then there might have been a chance. If this stranger is trying to take him out, then... Well...
He seeks to prevent the end of the war.
I don't suppose you would happen to know where these talks were supposed to take place and when?
No, I have no idea. My lord was still in the process of making final arrangements when he lost contact with a mage on the eastern side. That would have been the one farthest away from us, on the edge. One by one, he lost contact with each of them. My lord had a way of communicating with other mages. There's an artifact, a device. It allows for augury and scrying. It is not here. It is not kept here. It is too large to be housed in a tower. But there is a site some miles away. He would travel there in secret to speak with them. He might have fled there. Or there might at least be something there that will tell you where he is.
Tell us how to get to it now.
Lionel pulls out a rudimentary map and a quill. Just mark it.
Yeah. Do you toss it down into the cellar, or do you allow him to get out?
I let him get out, yeah.
Okay. So he sort of climbs out, still trembling, so he sort of slips on the ladder a few times, but he comes out onto the ground, and he's kind of on his all fours, like he doesn't stand up, he just sort of crawls over to your map and starts scribbling. Yes. Of course. I've never been there myself, but we've kept detailed documents of it, of course. I can draw it for you. Just give me a few moments.
Okay, I'm going to watch him extremely closely while he draws to make sure he's not drawing like magic sigils or anything like that could be a danger to us.
Right. All right.
He also probably sees a giant rock guy standing there.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't think this
back.
guy's gonna end up trying to like blow us all up or something, but I'm not gonna risk it.
I will
goes
say
into the cellar and takes 4 bottles of wine.
okay. The 4 bottles of wine do not resist you. They are yours. So,
Roll
what was I gonna say?
Constitution, though.
You take them all at once. Again, I digress, Richard, but one of the sessions near the end of Sir that I was editing the other day was the one where you're on the airplane and Paulo just gets pissed drunk. So,
yeah.
anyways. So Rick, in speaking of you and a big rock man, the apprentice, we'll call him, definitely gets a look at you, and he trembles. But he's been trembling the whole time, so you have no idea whether or not he's really registered on him that you're a big rock guy, or if he's just completely too much in shock to really care.
Waves.
Hi.
Hi. He kind of looks around the party, trying to figure out who to speak to next, but he just goes, "Then you are men of magic, then, unless this creature is natural."
My name's Rick.
He has
Not
been
a
bewitched,
creature.
so.
I do not understand, but Lord Cassis has told me many times that part of this craft is understanding things we do not understand, or at least acknowledging that we can't understand. Welcome, Rick. For what it's worth, I welcome you into this abode. Not much of an abode anymore.
How long ago was the man in black here?
He arrived at dawn, I believe.
He does move fast.
So canonically out of character here, would that be when we were in the caves? Or would that be after we left?
Let's see. You came out of the caves in the evening. Well, the most recent dawn. I'm not sure which dawn he's talking about, but the most recent dawn.
Oh, right. It did take some time to walk here,
We
right?
walked for like 2 days. I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It was like another. It was another full day from where you talked to Bront to getting to the tower.
Right. Sorry, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So it's probably that dawn he's talking about.
Okay.
Is he still drawing on the map?
He's almost done. I was just going to switch over to Many because Many was heading up the stairs to the top. So
Okay.
I just wanted to describe what he found. Many, on your way up the stairs, there's a lot of them. It's a 30-story tower, although you're a fit guy. Although now that you think about it, you must have, that meat must have been pretty terrible. You're feeling a bit queasy there, but whatever. Shake it off. As you march up the tower,
I hurl down the stairs and attempt to target Rianne.
Yes.
Oh.
Roll volley.
No, I just go.
Puka goes down.
Tell me when I get to.
Yeah.
How many floors are there? 30? Tell me when I get to
top,
15.
Then I'm going
get
to
the
throw
top.
up. Yeah.
Whatever.
I get to 15, then I'll throw up. As you work up the stairs, you have to shimmy around corpses. Like I said, there are dead bodies along the stairway.
I don't think many shimmies. I don't think he's a shimmier.
Just
Probably-
right into them.
Probably just steps
He's
over
not
them.
afraid of
He
the
probably-
bodies,
yeah. Either
Yeah.
steps over, steps on, or kicks aside.
Right. Yeah, it's true. Okay, fair enough. You probably just kick aside or push aside. You also notice as you go up the stairs that some of the stairs are heavily damaged. I'm not going to make you roll, but you gather that great force was put on one particular stair, and then another stair a couple of stories up. Drawing the image in your mind's eye, you can imagine the stranger sort of leaping from stair to stair as opposed to climbing them.
Efficient.
And finally, when you reach the top, you find that it plateaus out into a flat stone area. There's a simple wooden wardrobe, which is sort of partially open. You can see there's some robes and other changes of clothes and some boots and that kind of thing. There's a decently comfy looking bed. And interestingly enough, there are no windows or observation areas of any kind at the top here. I guess those would be too easy an entryway. But you can see that there's another little staircase that will lead outside, presumably onto the roof of the building. Like I said, it does look like that a beacon or or torch could be lit here if necessary. There's also a small stack of books, and sort of in the center of the room, a circle has been drawn in what looks like chalk or charcoal. A large circle, and then a bunch of sigils have been written in the center. You can see some sort of like a loaf of bread that has been cracked cleanly in half that is laying on the circle as well, and a pile of what you think at first is dust, but actually you realize it's salt.
Well,
otherwise, you don't find anything of interest.
Yeah, the magic setup here means nothing to many, except reminding him what was missing from his day meal. And he looks around the top of the tower, instead taking in the details of any violence that might have occurred here. The codices mean nothing to him, but violence he can read.
Yeah. Though there is obviously evidence of the stranger leaping up to this top plateau, there isn't any sign of violence here. No blood, no smashed things, nothing.
Interesting. Yeah, the mage wasn't here and he left unsatisfied. The mage managed to defeat or evade him. And Many looks towards the circle and grabs one of the books from the pile speculatively and tosses it towards the circle.
The circle shimmers a little bit, like a coin being casting light off the sun, but nothing happens otherwise. Shit, the circle go out.
And you said crossing the circle, on the inside of the circle is salt and bread?
On the inside of the circle, yes.
This requires a mind of magic. Perhaps that quivering boy hiding away can still be of some use.
Meanwhile, on the ground floor, for the rest of you, the apprentice has finished his map. And it does look like a map, unless this sigil is like a circular road with some like badly drawn trees. But he's drawn a compass in the corner for reference. He's obviously not a map maker by trade. It looks a bit shoddy. But he's drawn a little map for a compass in the corner for reference, and he's drawn like a path and like a dotted line and all of that. And then he's just drawn basically like a big black box. And he like goes to add details to it and then stops and realizes like, yeah, these guys don't care about that. So he sort of slides the map back towards you, Lionel. This should give you the directions to the place. It is a crypt, traveler, a mausoleum, a place of the dead. And some of the dead do not stay still.
Wonderful.
Good.
What a charming place to meet up and hold peace talks, or the beginnings of peace talks.
Cass has had to choose a place where the armies and his enemies would not follow.
Don't misinterpret me. I understand entirely why. It's still ironic in a way.
The apprentice just nods, sort of defeated and still kind of traumatized.
Godwin looks at the apprentice and back to the rest of his group. Good. Well, if that's everything.
Yes.
He opens the cellar door, points into it. Back in with you.
The guy gives you sort of a pleading look and then just looks defeated. Yes.
Is there really need to have him stay?
After the guy sort of makes his way in, Godwin closes it. No tolerance for mages, Lionel. And he moves a heavy stone on top of it. No tolerance.
Need I remind you that there's no evidence that boy was a mage, just because he is in the service of one.
Well, we have our map.
Oh, maybe he was the cook.
Well, gentlemen, at least I have a couple bottles of wine for the trip ahead of us. I managed to snag some from the cellar before you pushed that fellow back in.
Many by this point has descended a little bit down the stairs.
And
he calls out Godvin's name in a booming voice.
Yes, many.
Your expertise is required at the top of the tower.
Right. What is it? And he starts to head up.
Okay. I'll
Just
screen
watch
wipe
your
us
steps,
to. I'll screen wipe us to Godvin and Many coming back up to the top of the tower because the description of the stairs is the same. And Godvin, could you roll? Could you roll spout lore? I'll let you have intelligence or wisdom. You can do spout lore or discern realities. What? Up to you. Yeah, 45 minutes later. Yeah.
Which one is wisdom for?
Discern realities. Yes.
I have a better chance with that.
Okay. It's a little bit beyond your craft. Whoever, like, this Castus guy does know his stuff. This does seem like an authentic spell to you. This is effectively a teleportation circle. But it's one way, one use. No one follows, no one replicates. The circle also doesn't reveal, as you read through the runes, the circle also doesn't reveal the destination.
Of course not.
Well, is it of any use?
Of any use? Well, we know he's gone somewhere and intends not to return.
Fleeing.
We know why.
Destruction.
We know why. He himself is a coward. Obviously.
As all mages.
Precisely.
Well,
I suspect.
were you able to extract further information from the boy downstairs?
His uses have been revealed.
Excellent. Then we have a new destination.
Let's be prompt with it. We have much less time now.
Lead on.
And back down the stairs we go.
As we wrap up tonight's session, I would like to mention that both Thomas and Kirk have both whispered me asking if they can release the boy. So
I'm not asking. As soon as he's gone.
So Thomas's whisper was, while Godvin is up there, Lionel wants to release the boy. Kirk writes, while Godvin is busy, I would try and release the mage to ask him some questions. So I will say, as this camera starts to pan out on the wizard tower, Many and Godvin start to make their way downstairs, confirmed of their new destination and their next march along the journey. Meanwhile, we zoom out to see. Someone's typing on me. Meanwhile, we zoom out to see Lionel and maybe Rick helping as well move the stone back and releasing the boy. So he climbs out once again, trepidatious. So ask any questions you might have had for him.
Important question then, just before we finish the scene, is do you try and get the boy somewhere out of the sight of Many and Godvin as they come down? Or do you just release him and then let things fall where they will?
Well, you got 30 stories to deal with, so...
I'm going to let Kirk ask his questions, and then I'll go from there.
I don't think you'd want to look down in case you just fall.
I think the GM is overriding that for the moment.
So I'm going to say we will decide the boy's fate next time. We will end the scene on Godwin and Many descending the staircase, and the boy being freed, and a new destination. This crypt, this mausoleum, will be the next destination of our intrepid heroes.
Wow.
Tune in next time.
When we return for Ron's Side of the Wall, One Last March, session number 5, entitled The Vow.
Don't miss it.
Until then, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the session tonight, guys. We'll see you soon.
Sure did.
Uh,
Woo!
Bye.
good night.
Bye, everybody.